Partnered by Times Influence.
Last week, at the second edition of the Economic Times Asian Business Leaders Conclave 2017, we saw Asia's foremost business leaders discuss ways to ensure that the region remains the most thriving center for trade in the world. The conclave acted as a focal point for discussions between ASEAN, India, and the Middle East. The second day of the conclave started with a special address by His Excellency Abdullah Al Darmaki, CEO, Khalifa Fund for Enterprise Development UAE, on the changing attitudes towards entrepreneurship and developing the Emirati SME brand abroad.
What I can tell you for a fact is that entrepreneurship in the Arab world is a very difficult task. People don't necessarily understand it because they would prefer jobs in the public sector. So for us to transform that mindset, it takes a lot of effort in putting together the foundation for individuals who would like to explore their opportunity. So we have a few programs that we've developed the past couple of years, and not all of them are economically based, but some are socially. We have developed programs for people who are of special need. We have developed programs who are supporting people who are coming out of the prison term, and at the same time, people who have difficulties readjusting and coming back to life. So our leadership in the Emirates are very much concerned and proactive in helping those individuals becoming reintegrated into society. Khalifa Fund for Enterprise Development has been operating as well outside the UAE. We have established ourselves in the Republic of Egypt and Chechnya, as well as Belarus, Yemen, and Jordan. So the idea is that basically we want to help those people in these countries establish themselves. And so all the tools available for Khalifa Fund is available for those citizens of these countries that I just mentioned. Thank you very much.
The occasion was also graced by the presence of Datuk Seri Mustapha Muhammad, Minister for International Trade and Industry, Malaysia, who in his keynote address spoke about the enhancing collaborative efforts for a greater industrial growth in Asia.
It is a pleasure for me to be once again on stage addressing distinguished business leaders from India in this second edition. Malaysia is an open economy. We open to foreign investments. We welcome foreign investments. There's a good number of Indian investments in Malaysia. And we hope events of this, like this one that we're having today and one we had last year, will continue to promote Malaysia as an investment destination, as an important investment destination, not only to penetrate the Malaysian market, but also to penetrate the ASEAN market. Another very important dimension, of course, is investment. We have been aggressively promoting Malaysia in India, and of course, India is also inviting Malaysians and others to invest in your country. This is another area that we should be working closely with each other, promoting investments in India and also in Malaysia. And we hope conferences of this nature will help to promote the potential of Malaysia and India. According to the ESA World Bank Doing Business report, which came out about a month ago, India has moved up 30 notches. This indicates that the reform measures put in place by your Prime Minister are gaining traction. This indicates that India is opening up to the world, and this is important. India has been perceived for many years as a closed economy. That's not the case, of course, but under Prime Minister Modi, that perception is gradually been erased from the minds of investors, and the fact that you moved up 30 notches, according to the latest World Bank Ease of Doing Business, goes to show that India is more and more open to business, and this is a very important development for Malaysian companies to be aware. And we look forward to working closely with you in the months ahead. Thank you.
The The High Commissioner of India to Malaysia, Mr. T.S. Tirumurthy, emphasized on growth and strength between India's strong relationship and industrial ties with Malaysia.
At the outset, allow me to felicitate Shri Deepak Lamba and the entire team of the Economic Times and Datin Sunita Jendran for organizing this event in Kuala Lumpur for the second year in running. I'm happy that the Asian Business Leaders Conclave has become even bigger this year and has attracted some of the top political and business leaders from all over Asia. I have been in Malaysia for nearly 4 years. And in these 4 years, I have seen our relations going from strength to strength. I'm particularly happy to note that our two countries now have a synergy of views in a range of areas, including defense, security and counterterrorism, de-radicalization, economic and investment relations, education, Indian traditional medicine, etc. Malaysian investments in India are more than $7 billion. $6 billion more has been done by way of projects in India by the Malaysian companies. These figures are only poised to substantially increase next year when many of the other projects come on stream. Many of the top Indian companies have also invested in Malaysia. Overall, I have no doubt that Malaysia and India are stabilizing factors in the region and will continue to play an important role in promoting regional and international peace and security. Several initiatives have been launched. Empowering the poor, underprivileged, and the weaker sections of the society, as well as catering to the desire of our youth, is the cornerstone of these initiatives. Friends, we invite investors from all over Asia, including from Malaysia, in fact, particularly from Malaysia, for partnering us in this transformational journey. Given India's strong relations with Malaysia, our robust ties with ASEAN, and our expanding ties with countries in East Asia, it is natural that the center of gravity should shift to this part of Asia, in fact, to this part of the world. Thank you.
The evening also witnessed the unveiling of the second edition of the Economic Times Most Promising Business Leaders of Asia coffee table book, followed by the felicitation of the Asian business leaders recognized for their exemplary work in advancing Asian businesses across the globe. Our recipients for the evening were Andrew Kinloch, Chairman Logie Group; Arun Lakhani, Managing Director and Chairman, Vishwaraj Infrastructure; Captain B.V.J.K. Sharma, Joint Managing Director and CEO, JSW Infrastructure; Dr. R. Vardarajan, Founder Principal, National Education Society and Saraswati Vidya Bhavan; Dr. Shubarno Bose, Chief Mentor and Chairman, International Institute of Hotel Management Group Worldwide; His Excellency Abdullah Al-Darmaki, CEO, Khalifa Fund for Enterprise Development; Irfan R. Memon and Asif R. Memon, Managing Director and Joint Managing Director, Olivia; MP Ahmad, Chairman, Malabar Gold; Raju Bista, Managing Director, Surya Roshni; Rakesh Markhedkar, Managing Director, Vikran Engineering and Exim; Sunil Pathare, Chairman and Managing Director, VIP Clothing; V. Sendil Kumar, Managing Director, Propel Industries; Tapan Singhel, Managing Director and CEO, Bajaj Allianz General Insurance. Coming up, an interactive panel discussion amongst the experts to discuss the driving global investments in infrastructure in Asia. Furthermore, an interactive panel discussion was held to discuss the driving global investments in infrastructure in Asia. The discussion highlighted the challenges and solutions for Asia to invest $26 trillion by the year 2030 to resolve its serious infrastructure shortage.
There's no denying that the opportunity is huge as far as, cross-border projects go. What's holding us back then, you think?
In case of Taiwan, this year we launched a new southbound policy, and this policy proved to be very successful. We enjoy, the trading figure growth is around 20% with ASEAN country and with India. All of them, surpass 20% growth. But in terms of infrastructure, because it involves, the government procurement program. As you know, up to 2030, this area needs 26 billion investment, 26 billion US dollar investment in infrastructure in order to meet the rapid economic growth, or otherwise it will hold back, your growth rate.
Vijay, as a private stakeholder in bridging the infrastructure gap, as it were, what are the opportunities? And at the same time, I want you to talk about how your experience has been, especially in India.
I think the opportunities to start off are huge. One is from a technology viewpoint, where we are seeing leapfrogging in technologies. We are seeing great things happening around us, and therefore the opportunities that are available today in the infrastructure segment is something which is great. On the other side, there are challenges. If the government has to come in into the area of infrastructure financing, and the banks have to look at infrastructure financing as a different ball game altogether from an industry financing. And so far, we've seen a lot of projects failing because the banks have looked at it on a 5-year return basis, that you start.
I think that's where we'll ask Prashant, but let me get a comment from Andrew as well. And when you talk about Asian infrastructure, I think everybody talks about what we've seen China do with the One Belt, One Road initiative. What's your assessment been, and what's stopping, say, other large economies in Asia to look at a model like that?
It's because of the very traditional, long-standing difficulty in terms of deals being properly prepared in the first place. There's long been a shortage of deals ready to be financed, and that comes, most of the responsibility for preparing those deals lies with the host government. It's a question of setting a reasonable legal regime, a reasonable regulatory regime, being able to acquire land that is necessary for a project on a sensible time frame at a sensible cost. It's a question of designing the asset in the first place. Does this road link up to the next road? That sort of thing. And it's a question of government supporting individual projects. So there's plenty of money waiting to be invested, but there aren't enough projects ready to be invested in. And the advent of China's Belt and Road simply adds a lot more numbers to the amount of money ready to be invested. It doesn't necessarily address the problem, which is blockage, the original blockage to deal flow, which is lack of properly prepared projects.
Okay. Suja, in most economies, it is the government that does a good part of the heavy lifting when it comes to building infrastructure. But the fact is that we need, sweeteners, as it were, enablers for private investment to also come in. Give us examples of what India has done successfully to be sort of able to do that.
India is at an inflection point right there. We are growing, we are one of the fastest growing economies across the world. A lot of focus is going into infrastructure, be it the transport infrastructure, whether it's rail, road. India has this ambitious plan to build around 35,000 kilometers of road over the next 5 years. You're talking about huge opportunities for investment. The government of India is working in a consultative manner with the private sector to bring in, it's not just government-funded money that needs to come in, but it's just encouraging the private sector to come in and contribute. And a lot of reforms are being done.
Prashant, let's talk about what Suja was talking about, which is bankable projects, right? What can the government do to create an enabling environment for bankable projects?
See, there are multiple ways the capital come. The same capital need not remain with the project from beginning to the end. By its very nature, the private capital would need more modelable, predictable risk, which are generally lower than risk, which are greenfield stage. So while you will see private capital coming from deep risk takers like promoter groups, etc., I think institutional capital, which is where bulk of the capital, and we at ICICI Venture manage. So these are big pension fund, the big insurance companies, the global savers who really invest. Now that money indeed can play a dramatic role, and indeed it has been playing. There's something else, I think, which is where you see the capital coming in. If you look at, even you talked about GMR, I think, which Shuja talked about everything. If you see, many of them indeed have been funded by private equity and so on and so forth, because individual promoter resources for taking gigantic infra projects are this thing. When you come at that level, you get a diversified bouquet of projects, because at the end of the day, I think the investor do need diversification around that. So I think those sort of partnership also happen. So many times, as I said, looking at different forum and way the private capital comes in, rather than at the greenfield stage, which is where we conventionally tend to look at it, maybe more worthwhile, because it does release a lot of capital back.
Thank you so much for taking time out for us.
Andy Z, a leading economist from China and one of the world's 50 most influential people in economics, spoke on how the bubble economy is on the verge of bursting again.
Big internet stocks are up 80% this year. I believe that what's going on, certainly there's something with internet as a new thing. It's a useful thing, but the financial stuff behind it is a huge bubble. And this bubble is living within this global bubble we are in now. I believe, in my rough calculation, today we are living in the greatest bubble in history. And that bubble, the size is about 100 trillion US dollars. Much bigger than what we saw in 2007. You look at the US household paper wealth is now 6 times GDP. Higher than in 2007. The US stock market valuation is higher than in 1929, 2000. And China's property value, relative price, is higher than Japan's in 25 years ago. So what is this bubble? This bubble is why we're having such a big bubble after the last one burst in 2008. Now, were we supposed to reform, to change the system, to avoid the bubbles? Nothing happened. What has happened since 2008, apart from people talking about technology and internet? You cannot eat your iPhone, by the way. You cannot eat your information. The world has not changed that much. Nothing has happened since 2008, apart from government stimulating.
I think first and foremost, there have been historic ties between Malaysia and India that go back to many centuries. And I think now the time has come for us to resuscitate these ties and bring it to a higher level where both countries can benefit with each other's mutual experience. The GST is an example. Malaysia introduced GST several years ago. The Indian government came, they studied our GST implementation, and they have also gone ahead to implement it. And it is a journey together.
I think it's great that India and Malaysia are holding conferences such as this. It's a great opportunity for Indian leaders to see Malaysia and ASEAN. I'm a big believer in ASEAN. You know, in this age of digital media, people sometimes forget the best way to actually get to know people and network is through conferences such as this and actually physically meeting people. Nothing beats the physical presence of getting to know each other, and conferences like this will make the world a smaller place.
He has started this jewelry business in 1993, along with a few of the friends and some relatives from Kerala. And today we are having almost 200 stores in 9 countries. Now, if you ask the success story, we should not sell what we have. We should sell what the customers want. That is a basic thing we have always considered. So in Indian market, different culture, different tradition. So based on that, we do the survey, we get the products, whatever they want. So that is the focus we have done.
We started this company in the building product segment way back in 1986. And over the period of years, we were number 7th in the list of industries at that point of time. But today overall in the country capacity utilization of the company, we are number 2 and we are leaders in many of the markets. So overall Visaga Industries being in the roofing segment, both in building products of roofing, and we are also into partition boards, fiber cement boards, which is really catching up very fast. Economic Times have come up with this Asia Business Leaders Conclave. It's a very good platform to exchange ideas, to see how there is growth all over the Asian region, which will also impact India in a big way. So it's created a platform to see that we exchange ideas and see how best companies can be run, because there are so many employees involved, there are so many staff involved. So whenever there is growth in the business, many people benefit because there's more employment, government gets taxes, and this way. So that's why Economic Times forming this conclave has ensured that we exchange ideas and see how the environment can be changed to see that best practices are used in the industry.
To wrap up, the second edition of the Economic Times Asian Business Leaders Conclave 2017 witnessed a greater involvement of regional governments. It also focused on the steps Asia as a unit must take to achieve its developmental goals and move towards not just complete economic independence, but also carving a prominent position in the new world order.
Partnered by Times Influence.